The Phoenix 90 is a 90-day program of transformation split up into 9 different 10-day stages. Each stage focuses on a different area or aspect of self-improvement, personal development, spiritual growth, individuation, actualization, whatever word you want to use for it to describe the process of transformation or unfoldment into the person that you wish to be, or you know you could be, but you're not living up to potentially, and to create the life that you want for yourself and the people around you and the rest of the world. That's what this is for. I've been working on this project for several years now with a number of people, and started as just a vision of an idea of bringing together all the aspects of personal development and self-improvement that I had been learning in my life into one holistic space. So there's not this myriad, this confusing maze to navigate through, taking all these different courses from all these different people, these ideas, these different philosophies, and trying to create my own way through things. Why couldn't there just be a path through all the chaos, through the fog that someone had figured out and worked out, and that I could follow and would get me the results that I wanted? And that's what this has been designed for. And it's gone through a series of transformations in itself over the years. And it's ended at this point at the moment in the Phoenix 90. And just like this program, this idea has gone through a number of transformations, we all go through transformations in our life, whether they're big or small. There's all stages in our lives where parts of us, sometimes really big parts of us, have to burn away, have to die off to allow for new life, new vital aspects of us to come forward so we can move on with our lives, so we can move on to the next stage or move on to bigger things in our lives. And that's why we've chosen the Phoenix as our icon for this movement, to realize that there is a phoenix within each and every one of us, and each and every one of us is like a phoenix, that we have multiple lives throughout our existence. We all come to certain stages in our life, quite often at crisis moments, when we realize that the old and degenerated aspects of ourselves needs to be burned away, needs to be cut away, or it needs to die, so that we can have new aspects of ourselves to develop, and that it can make way for the new and the vital. And it is a shame that often that has to happen in a moment of crisis, rather than it happening on purpose through an active choice of our own to think, if I don't take action now, if I don't prioritize this, if I don't realize what isn't serving me anymore and move through it and towards it and become the best person I can be, I am going to reach a moment of crisis. And maybe I can have enough self-awareness right now so I don't have to get to that point, and I don't have to reach a moment of crisis for me to be able to actually develop and get to the new level. So the Phoenix is a mythical creature that is immortal, so it lives forever. And throughout its existence, it has multiple lives. And when one of its lives comes to an end, when the bird is old and degenerated and not serving its right purpose anymore, the bird bursts into flames, and its identity and its current physical form is burnt or turned to ash. But get this, where the phoenix's current identity and form is destroyed, turned to ash, its true self, its spirit, lives on and is resurrected, is reincarnated, is reborn into new life, and with a regenerated identity. So the spirit of the phoenix lives on, but it's different. And have you ever experienced that in your life when you look back and you go, wow, I've changed. Like, it's still me, but there's something so different. And that's what that is. It's the spirit of you still lives on. Your true self still lives on, but your identity has shifted. And that's what this program is all about. Catalyzing that transformation and allowing it to occur in the most effective way possible. So I'm just going to quickly run through the 9 stages of the transformational program. So I'm just going to quickly run through the 9 stages of the Phoenix 90. 1 is life mapping, 2, vision building, 3, identity shaping, 4, personal transcendence, 5, Alchemy of Self, 6, Relational Renaissance, 7, Habitual Alignment, 8, Impact, Enlightenment, and 9, Functional Ascension. For today, I just want you to start seeing yourself as a phoenix. See yourself as this regenerative creature that has these multiple lives, and its spirit carries forth through all those different lives, and it can burn away what is old and degenerated and isn't serving it anymore, and it can spring new life that is vital and can bring forth all the abundance and all the clarity and all the action and all the energy that is needed for new life to transform and to move forward. And tomorrow we're going to start getting into the exercises of stage 1, which is life mapping. Looking forward to it. If you were a phoenix coming to the end of one of your lives, what do you think one of the first things that your attention and focus would be on in that time? You'd be reflecting over your life's journey so far, the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations and everything that has happened to you, not in a self-judgmental way or a self-deprecating way, but just in a way to gain awareness and gain clarity on your experiences up to where you are now. Often we feel stuck, lost, or confused about our direction in life because we don't have any clarity on where we've come from. We're paralyzed and confused about which way to go because we don't have any clarity about where we are. Your past informs your present, and therefore your future. Your future, that's what you're going to be thinking about next after reflecting on your life. If you were a phoenix coming to the end of your life, what's next? Who will I become? What will I do? And that's what we're going to be focusing on in stage 2 of Phoenix 90, about your future and defining a vision for yourself. But you tell me, how can you chart a course forward if you don't even know where you are right now? Let's say you want to travel to Dublin in Ireland, and you are in Lisbon in Portugal. But because you have no clarity on where you are, you actually think you are in Paris, in France. Do you think that going on the current information you have, thinking you are where you are, you think you're in Paris? When you leave on that trip to go to Dublin, you're going to end up where you wanted to be. No, you're going to end up out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. If you think you're in Paris, but you're actually in Lisbon, you're not going to end up anywhere near where you wanted to be. Well, here's another example. Let's say you're a ship at sea and you're trying to get to a specific destination, some like Paradise Island, some like beautiful place, your dream place, right? But the trouble is you don't currently know where you are, or you only have a very vague idea about where you are. How can you plot a course to the place you want to go when you don't even know where you are? You're going to have a really hard time finding that place. You're probably going to end up in the wrong place, or worse, you're just going to end up shipwrecked at the bottom of the ocean. And as the navigator of this ship, what do you think the only way to figure out where you currently are is? It's by working out where you've come from, how far you traveled, in which direction, and where you changed course along the way. And just like the ship cannot know where it is without understanding where it's been, you cannot fully understand where you are or who you are without having a clear picture of your life story up until now. And you might say, yeah, but ships have GPS these days, so they don't have to even figure out where they've been to figure out where they are. So it's a lot easier for them, and there's no need for them to track their course. And that is exactly right. Reflecting on your own life and journey is like you're having your own built-in GPS. It helps you to understand where you are and how best to move forward. By creating a clear outline of your life up until this point, you'll gain self-awareness, you'll identify patterns, you'll understand your journey, and you'll learn valuable insights. So this is the first exercise to do, to write an outline of your life story up until this point. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be a reflection of you and your journey so far. When you're doing this, you should focus on the milestone moments and also the ups and downs that you've experienced in your life. And this might take several hours, it might take more, it might take less, but you can do this over the next few days. So just start at the start and list out everything that comes to mind about your life and that you consider relevant to your life's journey. Confucius once said, if one wants to run, one must learn to walk. If one wants to teach, one must learn. To define the future, you must study the past. You need to define your future. But to define your future, you need to know where you are. And to know where you are, you must study your past. One day, James wakes up in hospital with amnesia. He has no memory of his life prior to this point. People surround him. His wife, his parents, his siblings, or perhaps his children, or other relatives, or close friends. How does James know that these people are who they say they are? Not until they start to show him like videos, photos, memories, or other evidence about the past will James be able to truly understand and believe that they are who they say they are and they have a relationship with him. It's the connection and the experiences that we have with other people that enables us to know them. And to fully understand his relationship to these other people, James would not only need to know the events and memories that they had together and they shared together, but also to know in what order those things happened and how their relationship developed over a chronological period of time. James would need to know his past with these other people in order to know them. And just as James would need to become clear about the past to understand the identity of others, he would also need to become clear about his own past and his own history to fully become clear about who he is, his own identity. At the moment he feels lost, he has a blurry sense of identity. He doesn't truly know who he is. James would have to look into his past to see what kind of character he is, to see what kind of values he has, to see what even his interests and passions are, or to understand what choices he made and why he made those choices up until this point in his life. James would need to gain clarity about his past in order for him to gain clarity about who he is in the present. And you might think this is a dramatic example, but the truth is many of us go through life with a blurry sense of self because we've never really taken the time to fully understand who we are. And just like James, we can end up feeling lost, blurry, or unsure about which direction to take. The key to unlocking your identity will be found in part in your past. So let's dive a bit deeper into why this matters. If you have an unclear sense of identity, it can manifest negatively. You might feel adrift or just be constantly changing directions. Or you might be trying to please other people at the cost of your own well-being. Or you might be trying to put other people down to make yourself feel better. Perhaps you make decisions to do things that you know aren't good for you. And on your truest level, you know that you don't want to do that thing, but you still do it anyway. Or perhaps you make decisions that you think you should do, but don't fully connect to who you are. Without understanding who you are, it's incredibly difficult to chart a fulfilling course. It's like looking out at your life through blurry lenses and looking into your past through those blurry lenses. You might make out some blurry shapes or outlines, but the details that make you unique are lost. Understanding those details, the events, the choices, the lessons that have shaped your character are essential for true self-discovery. Let's imagine your identity is a house. Your personality, your values, your passions, even those quirks that make you unique are the foundations, the walls, the roof, and the decor inside the house. These elements combined are what creates your blueprint for your house. But where did the building materials come from? It's your life experiences, the successes, the setbacks, the relationships, the lessons learned that molded who you are today. Each experience added to the foundation, altered the shape, and contributed to who you are in this very moment. Understanding the core pieces of your identity isn't just about the past, but your history can provide valuable insights about what motivates you, what you truly value, and what truly lights you up. This self-knowledge is like a compass. It reveals your current direction, and it informs you on whether you need to have a complete change of course, just a slight adjustment in direction, or to stay true on the path you're already on. Your past reveals what you deeply value, the unseen forces that guide your choices, and what you truly stand for. The more you start to understand yourself and where you come from, the more you'll start to feel comfortable with who you are, and the more you'll be able to express yourself in an authentic way. Self-knowledge frees you from trying to be someone that you're not. If you search into your past, you will start to find yourself. Everything in the universe follows a pattern, from the beating of our own hearts and the rhythm of our breathing to the rise and fall of empires or the death and birth of stars. The sine wave, the never-ending dance of expansion and contraction, of life and death, or order and chaos. Since you've started to write your life story outline over the last few days, you might have started to notice this more and more. Highs and lows, periods of growth and periods where you hit a plateau or you seem to fall backwards a lot. Here is something that you need to understand. The cycle never stops. Last month, I was in Nazaré in Portugal, where Red Bull holds the big wave surfing competition, where these athletes can surf waves up to 90 feet tall. After you've done watching this video, you can go and search this up, and it will give you an immense respect for the power of nature. Imagine one of these surfers isn't very experienced and gets caught in a strong rip current in this unforgiving ocean. And a rip current is like a strong, powerful channel of water that is moving away from the shoreline. The current is relentless, it's too strong, and it overpowers the surfer, pulling them further and further away from the safety of the shore. They fight with all their might, trying to swim against the current, yet they're making no progress. Panic and exhaustion set in, and the stress of this struggle to fight against nature threatens to drown them. This feeling, this struggle against an unrelenting force, often mirrors our experience with the natural ebbs and flows of life. We push against the lows and cling to the highs, and the struggle creates immense stress and internal conflict. But for those who are more experienced and know the ways of the ocean, they know there's a smarter way to navigate the rip current. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to fight the current head-on, seasoned swimmers know to swim parallel to the shore across the current until they're free from its pull. Similarly, there's a smarter, less stressful way to navigate the ebbs and flows of life. And it starts by recognizing and accepting the natural order of things. So let's get into it. Understanding the sine wave pattern is crucial for this shift in perspective. The sine wave is a smooth, repetitive curve that represents the cyclical patterns that are found in nature and in our lives. It has peaks, the high points, and troughs, the low points, that are continuously rising and falling. Think of a specific event in your life, maybe a relationship, a career journey, or a project. Now visualize that event mapped onto a sine wave. Notice the peaks, the moments where things felt exciting and where achievement was happening, and then notice the low points where things felt stagnant or they were challenging. This representation highlights a truth that we quite often forget, I think, that the highs and the lows are both an integral part of our journey. Nature itself teaches us this. Day fades into night, allowing time for rest and renewal, and summer gives way to autumn and then winter, a time of shedding the old and making way for future growth to occur. Even our emotions follow this pattern. We have periods of joy and excitement, followed by maybe periods of sadness and boredom and introspection, which then might spark the seed of something new again. Unfortunately, most of us live in a society that's obsessed with productivity and constant upward trajectory. We're brainwashed to chase happiness relentlessly, ignoring the lows that are so essential to life and make the highs so precious. And this can fuel the same kind of desperate struggle that we saw in our inexperienced surfer. Now, you should have made good progress already on the outline of your life story, and this is the next exercise to do, to highlight or specifically note all the high points and the low points throughout the timeline of your life. As we've covered in the previous lessons, the clarity that you'll gain from this will be invaluable, especially as we move forward with the rest of the Phoenix 90. As you do this exercise of defining the high points and low points in your life, try to remember how you felt during that period. Were you clinging to the highs or resisting the lows? Were you overcome with worry, doubt, fear, or anxiety in the lows? Realize how those peaks and valleys eventually shifted. What do you think you can learn from that? And do you think you can see things more clearly now? We all know the adage, what goes up must come down. And the reverse is also true. What falls, what goes down, will eventually rise again. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. Wisdom lies in embracing this cycle. And remember this timeless phrase. This too shall pass. As everything does. Both the glorious highs and the difficult lows hold this promise. And when you start to truly realize this, you'll start to walk a much more balanced path through life. Later in the Phoenix 90, we're going to look at how to change the trajectory of your life sine wave upward toward the good, but by doing that in harmony with nature. By accepting the natural ebbs and flows of life, we release the tension of struggle. We find moments of peace even in low periods, and we ready ourselves to ride the rising wave of newfound strength and resilience. You're standing at a crossroads with two paths in front of you. They both look fairly similar. They're well worn and well maintained and have easy footing in the first stretch along them. The one on your right has a nice gradual decline, which makes it look tempting to your weary legs, as you've already been walking for a while now. And the one on your left starts with a set of several steps, and then continues with a gradual upward slope. You set your gaze further along the path on your right, and you notice that it descends more and more the further it goes, until not too far along the path, you see a wide set of stairs, with a handrail going down the side of them. But you can't see any further than that. It's too dark. The entrance to this path, there's someone standing there, and it kind of looks like you, but it's not you. They tell you that this is the path that you should take. It's a nice stroll down a gentle slope, and there's only a few steps on the staircase you can see down there, they say. The person tells you that this path is the most popular choice, and they tell you to think of your tired and weary legs. Before deciding to go down the path on the right, you think you should have a look down the path on the left to see where that leads. Although the path on the right does seem like a good option, it feels like there's something within you that wants you to find out what the path on the left has in store. You follow the path on the left with your eyes as it gradually climbs up into the distance. It seems to get steeper in a few parts further along. And then at one point, the path turns into a steep set of rocky steps and disappears into the clouds, with the sun shining brightly behind them. You seem to hear a voice coming down to you from the top of the path, and it sounds like your voice, but it's different. You can't make out what it's saying, and you want to get closer to find out. But it does look like a hard climb. The next thing you know, the person who was standing at the entrance to the path on the right has taken your hand and is casually leading you toward the declining slope. You need to make a decision as to what to do, but you're unsure about which way to go. The person still has your hand and is starting to talk to you about all of the matters in the world, about things that shouldn't really concern you, but are starting to grab your attention. You have to consciously pull your attention away from the conversation before you realize that you're already a few steps down the path on the right, and the wide staircase is coming closer. The temptation of the easy path is strong, and that character taking your hand assures you that it's the sensible option. They whisper of comfort, of avoiding hardship, and of following what others seem to do. But something deeper within you, a different character, yearns to see what lies beyond that cloudy mountain peak. This is where the power of our choices lie, between the easy path with its hidden pitfalls and the path that might seem harder at first, but holds the amazing potential for self-discovery and growth. Life is full of these crossroads, big and small, and the easy path often shimmers with its short-term rewards and distractions. Yet it's those steep climbs where the path disappears up into the clouds that lead to the most breathtaking views. As we covered in yesterday's lesson, you cannot control the peaks and valleys in the terrain of life. But what you can control is how you navigate your way through them. For the exercise today, you're going to review the highs and lows that you've defined in your life story and ask yourself, what good or bad choices did you make that led to those good or bad places? How did your decisions or lack of decision play into those times in your life? Think about how in any bad situation that possibly seemed completely out of your control, is there anything that you could have done or done differently that could have made things just, say, 5% less bad? True empowerment comes from consciously choosing how we navigate the mountain range of life. Each climb, each descent holds the potential of transformation. Choosing how we respond, navigating this terrain with intention makes all the difference. The path won't always be easy, and the lows will still come. But knowing that you made the best choices that you could, you faced challenges with courage, and you refused to stray from the path that aligns with your deepest values, that makes the journey truly worth it. A man who was traveling came upon a farmer who was working in his field and asked him what the people in the next village were like. The farmer asked, "What were the people like in the last village that you visited?" And the man responded, "They were rude, unfriendly, and dishonest people." "You'll find that the people in this village are the same," said the farmer. Another man who was traveling to the same village came up to the farmer as well and asked him the same thing. What were the people like in the next village? Again, the farmer asked, "What were the people like in the last village that you visited?" And the second man responded, "They were kind, friendly, generous, great people." "You'll find the people in the next village are the same," said the farmer. This parable illustrates that our internal state often leads to the same outcome in our lives. Wherever you go, you take yourself with you. But it's not just about attitude. Deep-seated patterns, both conscious and unconscious, can lead us to recreate the same scenarios again and again, in even seemingly different circumstances. Some people end up in the same toxic relationship, only with a different person, even though it's clearly not good for them. People find themselves in a new role with a bullying manager, even though they've just escaped college with a bullying lecturer. Addicts will often find themselves acting addictively with a new thing, even though they've just been through recovery for something else. We literally become addicted to these same scenarios, and we attract them to ourselves again and again. And it will not stop until we recover from our inner dysfunction. And the first step to overcoming these patterns is by shining a light on them, by becoming aware of them. I heard of a study a little while ago that showed how addicts who stayed sober for longer periods, not because they had developed a willpower to say no to the thing they were addicted to in triggering environments, but because they had the will and the awareness not to go into those environments in the first place. They've noticed their pattern and realized that addiction is often triggered by environmental cues. They no longer go to that place, so they are less likely to use. Of course, this is just one piece of the puzzle of recovery, because the person who is not an addict or the person who has strong recovery can still go into these environments without using. So it's not just all about environment. But the moment that the compulsive spender can realize that they only slip when they've had a stressful day at work and when they've skipped the gym, say, is the moment that they can start to break free from the slavery of their obsessive compulsive prison. The inner work of healing our wounds and correcting our dysfunction is what we're going to start looking at in later stages of the Phoenix 90. In yesterday's exercise, we looked at our choices and how our choices shaped the high and low points in our lives. Well, today we're going to look a little deeper and consider the environments that our choices led us into, the environments that fueled us in making certain choices, and the patterns that play into these cycles. Which choices led us to which environments, and which environments led us to make which choices? Is it certain people we're with, or after talking with certain people? Is it certain mental states, or is it certain places? Rumi once wrote, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." The more self-awareness you develop, the more you'll be able to see your self-destructive patterns are playing out in your life. As you start to notice these patterns, you'll start to become aware of the parts of you that are pricking you in the side. And you'll be able to cut those parts away and make room for new growth and new positive patterns. Napoleon Hill, a legendary figure in personal development, once stated that every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. This powerful insight reminds us that even the darkest moments can contain hidden opportunities for transformation. Just as the phoenix has to disappear into the darkness and die before it can rise again, each of us have experienced setbacks, heartbreaks, and moments where it seems like we're surrounded by darkness. Yet, like the phoenix, the very process of facing these challenges is what allows us to transcend them and to rise from the ashes more powerful than before. Obstacles in our lives often appear insurmountable at first encounter, casting shadows of doubt and fear across our path. We feel frustrated and discouraged. Why can't things just go our way for once? Sometimes it feels like the world is against us, like it's just one thing after another, like we're under attack. But the challenges that we've faced throughout our lives are what shapes our character to become more resilient and resourceful. The scars that we gain in battle along the way are a part of what makes us who we are. Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, whose numerous attempts to invent the electric light bulb were met with failure after failure. Instead of viewing each setback as a defeat, Edison saw them as valuable lessons, bringing him one step closer to success. With each failed experiment, he learned what didn't work, guiding him towards the solution that would ultimately illuminate the world. Similarly, every obstacle that we encounter serves as a teacher, offering lessons in resilience, perseverance, and adaptability. Instead of allowing adversity to crush our spirits, we can choose to embrace it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. While it is natural to resist hardships, there is a fascinating paradox at work here. That many people, when they're reflecting on their lives, wouldn't change their most difficult experiences, even if they could. Studies have shown that a significant percentage of people, when asked, expressed a belief that overcoming challenges was crucial for their growth and development in becoming the person they are today. Consider a simple analogy. A seed buried under the soil faces pressure, darkness, and isolation. Yet these very conditions catalyze its transformation into a sprout that pushes toward the light. Inside of that tiny seed holds the potential of a giant tree, but for it to fulfill its potential, it must go through certain pressures and trials. Tomorrow we're going to move on to an entirely new exercise, but for today, I want you to review all that you've discovered while writing your life story outline and consider the lessons that you can glean from your life experiences, the good and the bad. Write down anything that comes to mind and keep it as a mantra for the future when you may be experiencing a similar test or trial of your character. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn is to view every experience, especially the challenging ones, as a teacher. When we shift our mindset to ask, what can I learn from this? We transform adversity from a roadblock into a catalyst for growth. This doesn't erase the pain of the hardship, but it grants us the power to extract the hidden value. By embracing our obstacles as opportunities to learn and evolve, we tap into our own vast potential, just like the seed. Every challenge can become a stepping stone, helping us toward a life of greater resilience, wisdom, and inner strength in an ocean of chaos. Carry this knowledge with you. The next time you face an obstacle, remember, within it lies the seed of a benefit yet to unfold. With courage and willingness to learn, you too will rise from the ashes, transformed. We all know those people who just seem to constantly remind us of what's wrong with the world and with other people. Their cynicism and endless negativity can be draining. And while this constant focus on the negative is clearly not virtuous, there is a valuable lesson to be learned. Our dissatisfaction, when harnessed correctly, can be a powerful tool for growth and positive change. Our dissatisfaction can be a much-needed indicator to us that something needs to change, or it can act as a signpost as to which direction we should be focusing our energy toward as we go forward. Bob Proctor once said, "You should never be satisfied. Happy, but not satisfied. Dissatisfaction is a creative state." Like that voice coming down from the top of the mountain that we talked about in a previous lesson. It's that spirit within you that wants to express itself more and greater. It's a creative force that wants to grow and thrive. It whispers to you, you could be more than you are. A giant redwood tree doesn't just grow to a few meters tall and then say, right, that's it, I'm done growing now, I'm comfortable here. I think I'll just stay like this forever. The tree, like all living creatures, has a potential that it can fulfill. It has a code written into its DNA saying, this is how tall, how broad, how strong you can be. This is how long you can live for. And the tree doesn't settle for anything less than what it's capable of becoming. The tree grows and grows and grows until it can't grow anymore. It's in our nature to want to become more, to grow to new heights that we haven't reached before. We can pick up this erroneous notion that we aren't supposed to want more out of life, that we should be satisfied with who we are and what we have. But I'm telling you, this isn't natural. The largest creatures on our planet, the elephants and the whales, don't just grow to a few tons in weight and then stop. They do everything they can to fulfill their potential. They aren't satisfied with anything less than what they can become. Male African elephant can grow to be over 10 tons in weight, and a blue whale can become over 220 tons. These animals scream majesty, and they fill us with awe about the incredible possibilities that nature can harbor. But you see, like the giant redwood tree or the elephant or the blue whale, you have a potential to fulfill, but no one can tell you what that potential is. No one knows the limits to human potential, and only you can find out yours. In today's exercise, we're going to rate your current life satisfaction. This will not only help you pinpoint some areas in your life that might be needing some attention and needing some changes to occur, but will also help you to gain clarity and perspective on some areas of life where you are already doing well and you do already have good life satisfaction, and you can express gratitude for these things. So there are a number of different life satisfaction questionnaires that you can do online, but I think it's best to do one that allows you to rate different areas of your life individually, so you can get a better idea of which area of your life that you might want to work on. We have defined our own 12 areas of life for this exercise, which is then split into another 5 areas or sub areas within each 12. So in total, you have 60 individual parameters that you can rate your life satisfaction by, which gives you a much clearer idea about which specific areas of life that you are most dissatisfied or satisfied with and what you want to focus on. This is a free resource, and wherever you're watching this, you should be able to find the link to this in the description, or you can reach out to me for that if you need it. Anyway, you rate each part of your life individually between 1 and 7. 1 is dismayed, completely dissatisfied, and 7 is delighted, completely satisfied. And at the end of the exercise, you have a score for each of your life areas. By honestly evaluating your current satisfaction levels, you'll gain valuable insights into where you are already doing well and other areas that might need some more attention. This exercise isn't about focusing on your deficits, but it's about unlocking your potential. Dissatisfaction is not a sign of failure, but it can be a sign that you're ready to level up. And your dissatisfaction can be a starting point for a remarkable transformation. Not too long ago, I went bowling with some friends, and as you'll probably know, at the bowling alley, there are multiple lanes next to each other, and each lane has its own setup where you can play your game. And there are 10 pins at the end of the lane. Those are your targets or your goals that you want to hit. And the more of those that you hit and knock down, the more points you get and the more likely you are to win the game. So you have your ball and you're about to bowl it down the lane and you're hoping for a strike, right? You want to hit all the targets all at once with the first ball. The trouble is, it is actually really easy to miss. And as you're approaching the end of the lane, ready to let go of the ball, someone behind you shouts something out and it distracts you from your game. It is only a game after all. But as you let go of the ball and it starts to head down the lane, it just completely goes off the side. You miss and you didn't hit any of your goals. All along the sides of the lane where you bowl your ball down, there are gutters. And once your ball goes into one of the gutters, you've lost your chances to hit any of your targets. And your chances of winning the game are diminished. If you've ever been 10-pin bowling, you'll know that at the sides of each lane, you can get these barriers that come up that stop the ball from going off the edge of the lane and into the gutter. Those barriers keep even the most poorly aimed ball in the lane with a much better chance of hitting the targets. Now, I want you to think of this bowling lane as the lane of your life. The lane itself is the journey that you're on. The pins at the end are the goals that you want to hit. The ball is the actions that you take. And the barriers at the side, those are your values. They stop you from going off course and ending up in the gutter, even when you're distracted. Life is full of distractions and temptations. Think of that familiar character that's standing at the entrance to the descending path, drawing you in with his conversations of all the matters in the world that I described in a previous lesson. Even with an awe-inspiring goal to hit at the end of your lane and a polished skill set like how good you are at bowling, sometimes you just get too distracted to be able to stay in your lane and you end up in the gutter. But with well-defined and prioritized values, even if you end up bouncing all over the place, you won't end up in the gutter and you'll have a much better chance of hitting your goals. Think about it. Any great game has well-defined rules. It's those boundaries that make a game challenging, exciting, and fair. In the game of life, your values are your rule set. They don't limit your fun. They provide the framework to achieving your goals while staying true to yourself. You can have incredible adventures, pursue thrilling challenges, and live a joyful life, all while staying in the lane that is defined by your most cherished values. So in today's exercise, you're going to define your values and rank them from the most important to you to the least most important. Start by writing down at least 10 things that you value in your life. And it's best to focus on things that are more big picture here, like health, financial independence, or family happiness, etc., rather than more specific things like my healthy breakfast or the income from my property or movie night with my kids on a Friday. The big picture values work better here, and those smaller things will fit into those bigger picture things anyway. Once you've got a list of 10 or so values, you're going to rank them between the most important to you to the least most important. And I say it like that because all of your values are going to be important to you, right? Simply put a number 1 next to the value that you think is most important to you. I did this exercise with my wife not too long ago, and it was really interesting trying to figure out which values that we prioritize over other things. And it was a really great exercise to do for us as a couple for our growth. Anyway, once you've put a 1 next to the most important value, just put a 2 next to the second most important value and carry on in the same way until you've numbered all the values. It is possible to have a few things on your value list that might come under equal importance to you. Say if you have spiritual connection and mental health and you think those both are just as equally as important as one another, then you could put a 2 next to both of them. But you don't want to do this too much. Your values aren't there to chain you down, but to liberate you. By consciously defining your priorities, you gain the power to choose wisely. Each action you take and each decision you make becomes a deliberate step toward a life that truly aligns with what matters most to you. Defining your values is just one of the first steps. The real transformation comes when you actively live according to them. Let today's exercise be the beginning of an intentional journey and refer back to your values hierarchy often, especially when you're navigating difficult choices. How many times a day do you look for something or someone to blame for the circumstances of your situation? Quick scroll through social media, a glance at the news, or even a casual conversation can reveal how deeply the blame game is ingrained into our culture. From an innocent child trying to escape consequences to politicians playing pass the buck, we are surrounded by examples of this. We try to teach children not to behave in this way and how it's better to tell the truth and take responsibility. But have we lost touch with this lesson ourselves? The habit of passing responsibility isn't as harmless as we might want to believe. It's a path to disempowerment and a victim mentality that blocks us from creating the life that we truly want. Dr. Joe Dispenza tweeted saying, "When it comes down to it, there are two ways to live our lives, either as the victims to our lives or the creators of our lives." Another quote from him says that if your personal reality is creating your personality, then you are the victim. But if your personality is creating your personal reality, then you are a creator. When we pass the buck, when we look outside of ourselves to point fingers at all the things around us that are responsible for our lack, whether it's a lack of happiness, health, success, love, joy, adventure, whatever, we give away our power to change those things. The victim mindset acts like an invisible cage, trapping us in a cycle of blame, frustration, and stagnation. We're trapped in a self-imposed prison because we let our avoidance of taking responsibility, which comes from fear, be the dictator of our reality. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. James Allen wrote that over 100 years ago. Today's lesson goes beyond the Newtonian way of perceiving cause and effect. It's a metaphysical lesson. The Newtonian perspective of reality is how one object or force acts upon another object or force and creates change. This relates to what we've been talking about in previous lessons, how our choices and our actions affect the outcome of our lives in a very direct way. Now we're starting to get into something that runs much deeper than the superficial level of cause and effect. Less than 5% of our universe is made up of atoms, of solid matter that we can see and we can touch. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions, your self-image, identity, paradigms, and belief all affect your body at a metaphysical level and can and do shape your reality in ways far beyond what most of us were taught in school. We're going to go into how this works a lot more in later lessons, but in short, your inner world creates your outer world, and taking responsibility is one of the first steps in claiming power over your life. When you can start to look at how you're playing your part in the circumstances in your life, even if it doesn't seem like there's any obvious link at first, you can start to create more consciously. Ask yourself, like we covered in the lesson on patterns, am I continually finding myself in the same scenarios, circumstances, or situations, even when I don't want to? It may have something to do with this inner side of you manifesting outcomes in your life that you haven't consciously chosen to create. Until you can take responsibility for the outcomes in your life, you'll forever be a victim of circumstance, blown about by the winds of fate, and you will never be able to create your own path. Taking responsibility isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are, and about realizing that everything in your external environment is an expression or an extension of who you are. Each time you resist the urge to blame, you expand your inner power. You break free from the self-imposed prison of victimhood and step onto the path of conscious creation.